All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming, and we're coming to the end, hopefully, of this program so I can get back to the BMI program. But if we look at it right now, there's a couple things I wanted to mention to you. The first is this, because I don't know if we ever explained this line of code, so I'd like to try to explain it right now. It says private read-only person repository repo equals new person repository. All right, it's declaring a read-only field of type person repository called repo. It's private, meaning it can only be accessed inside of the class where it's declared. It's read-only, so it can be assigned a value only once, like it is here, or it could be inside of a constructor if we did, but we don't even worry about that because it's right here. After that, you can't reassign repo to something else. Person repository, again, is the type of the field. All right. Usually, as we've talked about before, a repository class is used to handle data access or something like a database. Again, repo is the name of the field. Equals new repository creates a new instance of person repository and stores it in the value repo. This gives us a single consistent repository instance that we're going to use for our CRUD operations, in this case for delete. All right. Now, the other thing that I want to mention, because it's in here more than once, is the line of code that is right here. All right, because it just kind of appeared out of nowhere. It says var person equals, then in parentheses person, dgv delete dot selected rows 0 in brackets dot data bound item. What this line does is it retrieves the person object associated with a selected row in the data grid view. In other words, it grabs the current record of the record that we've selected. So var person lets the compiler infer the variable type. In this case, the type of variable is going to be inferred as being type person. All right. Why? Because we cast it as type person. The dgv delete, that's the name of our data grid view. Selected row 0 will get the first selected row that we have in the grid. This assumes that at least one row is selected, and if you don't select anything, you'll get an exception. Finally, data bound item, this is the actual object that the row represents. Here it's going to be a person. Again, we're casting this from object to person. So really what's happening here is it is extracting the underlying person object the user selected in the grid, and it's storing it in person or as a person. Now later on in here, we've got this. So what are we doing between those lines? We're selecting a row in the grid. We're grabbing the person that's associated with that row. And in this case, we're going to pass that to the repository, and we're going to tell it to delete it. In the update, we're doing a similar type of thing in that we're again creating the repository. We're again doing this, but this time we're doing an update. So in one case, we're going to ask the user, are you sure you want to update this record? And if you do, it's going to remove it. All right. Now, as mentioned, when you do this, up here where we did this stuff here, we're just willy-nilly, for lack of better words, kind of assuming here that it's going to work. All right? And what if it doesn't? Well, can we Can we make sure, in other words, that this works? Well, we can try. We can say here, if DGV, this is our update, dot selected rows, dot count. If it's greater than 0, that means we've selected something. So we can go in and do all this stuff. Like that. So we're only going to do this now if we've selected a row. And if we haven't, it's not going to do anything. All right. Now we could also come in here, and what if we do this and it's still, there's a problem? Well, we can come in here and say, if person not equal to null, then do all this stuff. Like that. What we're doing, in essence, is we're trying to protect ourselves. Data, basically, is about the most powerful aspect that a company is going to have. If you screw it up, it could be, the ramifications could be really, 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 really bad. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, now that's got to be delete because we're in delete. Whoops, DGV delete, sorry. All right. Again, we're going to come in here, we're going to grab all this stuff, and we're going to push it over. But I'm going to come in here and put in another curly right there. And just like we did before, we're going to come down to here, and we're going to say, if person not equal null, then we're going to do all this stuff. What we're trying to do is we're trying to protect our data. All right. Now, I do want to mention one more thing, and that is this. Years ago, back when I was teaching, I was in Wisconsin teaching at a technical college. I went in and got to know a guy on our advisory committee who ran a company that sold different types of equipment. Okay? And he was good enough to let me come in with my students and take a tour of his shop. And when he got done, he asked if there were any questions. A few students had, some questions, and then I had one. And I asked him, I said, what if, I said, I imagine everything you've got here is computerized and it's in one or more databases, and he agreed. And I said, what would happen if your data either got corrupted or lost? How long could you keep going, before something bad or whatever would happen? And he said, that's a really good question. So off the top of my head, I'd say a couple weeks. He said, but let me think about it. You walked us back to where we came, told us a few parting words, and then finished by saying, I thought about it, and I don't think we could stay in business more than 2 or 3 days, because not only is all of our inventory stuff online and in different databases and whatever, but so is our payroll stuff. And if we lost that data, he said, we'd be kind of out of luck. So you want to make sure, of course, always that doesn't happen. So I'm going to try to run this. I have no idea if it's going to work or not. I really don't. So I'm going to close everything I've got here. and I'm going to bring up my startup form. In fact, let's do this. We're going to close the data folder. We're going to close the migrations folder, close the models folder, close the reload folder, close the validation folder, and we're going to bring up our startup form. Now I'm going to even close the startup. All right, we want to make sure, and it is already, but what the heck? That's our startup project. All right, now we'll see if I made any mistakes or any omissions in what I've done. So I'm running the program. There it is. I'm going to click Create. All right, we're going to see if we can add somebody. All right. Record added to database. Now, I didn't clear these things out, which I should have done, but that's okay. So we'll return to our startup. And now let's see if we read. It's not showing, and that's not good. So it doesn't have the correlation. When I click Save, notice what's there. I guess I had to click Save first. So there I am. Now the problem here is if I click Save, it is showing it, and that's all it's supposed to do is read it. So it is showing it. So that's good. Now let's go to Update. Okay, it's giving me an error in here. It says no row can be added to a data grid view that does not have columns. Columns must be added first. What that says to me is that I'm going to have to go in and just like we did before, maybe I'm wrong here. Let me go back and check my notes here. This is Update, and let's see if my update looks, if I've forgotten anything or whatever. Okay, there's Delete, and here's Update. All right, so we've got well, this isn't Update here, so let's hold on just a second. Let's go and see if we can find Update. There it is. All right. All right, we did put a load people. That's good in. So that should have loaded it, I would have thought. But it looks like it didn't. That's because that's not what I wanted to put there. All right. This load all people that I've got in there, I don't think I'm going to really need that anymore. I'm going to call load people, which doesn't exist. So I'm going to write it right below. All right, and what that's going to do is it's going to say DGV update dot auto generate columns equal true, and that should put everything in there for us. And DGV update dot data source equals repo dot get all persons. Ideally, at least, that's going to fill everything up. All right. Now, in our save, If that's 0, we want to say that you've got to select the record to update. That's good. We just change this, put all that stuff in there. We went over what all that meant. Now, we don't need this anymore. We're going to call load people again. All right. All right, so File, Save All. Now it looks like Create works. With Create, one thing I want to do, let's go back to the Create, and when we get done, after we do our save, if everything worked, like this, so if we added the person, record added, we can go in here, and let's just call it, we'll call this clear all text boxes. It's going to give us an error because, of course, that doesn't exist. So private void clear all text boxes. Oops. All right, now we're going to do this before we do the message box. Like that, so we can hopefully see it. So we're going to say here txt first name dot text equals nothing, txt last name dot text equals nothing, txt address dot text equals nothing, txt first name last name address city dot text equals nothing, txt state dot text equals nothing, txt zip code dot text equals nothing, and let's take txt first name dot focus. So that's going to clear out everything when we get done, and hopefully put our cursor back on that field. All right. So when we're all done and we've added the record, we're telling it to clear out all text boxes, give us a message that it was successfully added, and then set the focus back in case we want to add another record. All right. I'm going to run it again. Now if I click read and I click save, there's our record. And I shouldn't have to click save to get that. But that's the way, I've got it. I'm going to change it from save to something else. Return to startup. Let's put in another record. We'll put in Mary Smith. She lives on 456 Pine Avenue in Los Angeles, California. I have no idea what the zip code would be. And we're going to say save. All right, person added to the database. Notice everything is cleared out, and there's our cursor. So if we want to add another record, how about Bob Jenkins, 3456 First Way, and he'll be in, I don't know, San Diego, California. Save. Okay, let's go back to our startup. Let's go back to read, save here, and there's our 3 records. Okay, well that's good. All right, we now see all of them. Okay, now I know how I'll fix this thing to show them. We're going to do that in just a second. But let's return to the startup. So create works and read works. How about update? There's our records. All right, let's go into Bob and change that from Bob. See if we can change that to Robert. All right, and tell it to save. You must select a record to update. Well, we did. Looks like, even though it said that, it looks like it saved it anyway because it's got Robert in there. Let's return to the startup. Let's read again. And it's, no, it did not change it. It's still Bob, which is interesting. All right. So return to startup. Let's go to update. Let's go to this one and click save. Person successfully updated. Well, we didn't change anything. That's a problem. It says it was successfully updated. Let's see. And it has been changed to Robert. Let's see if we can remove Robert. Okay. No row can be added, so we're going to have to do the same kind of thing that we did before. So for the update in CRUD operations, we're going to have to basically kind of do the same kind of thing. So we've got it almost working. Let's see if we can get this working before we put this away, so to speak. All right, so we've got, I want to change this initialize component, and I want to put the load people there just like this, except I'm going to have to change it to delete, and I'm also going to want to do it here. All right, so where's our delete? All right, so this is going to change like this. So we now have this load people. And again, as I mentioned, this will have to change to DGV delete, as will this. There's other ways we could write this, probably better than I'm doing it right now. I'm going to leave it the way it is. So this now can be just called load people. Now I should be able to come in here and get rid of this whole reload thing. So I'm going to delete that. All right. Whoops. No, I don't want to do that. You don't want to hear me give this last lecture again. All right. So let's go back. And let's do one more thing. And that is, we're going to, again, grab this load people. All of this, and we're going to put this in our, so update should be okay, startup I'm going to leave up, create should be okay, delete should be okay, all right, and I need read all persons. Okay, we're going to do this. So this is DGV read. Whoops. All right. We're doing it in here, but we're putting it in the show all people. We don't really need a save button anymore. It's not doing anything. There's nothing to save. So let's do this. Let's go back to here. All right. And let's change the name of this. Well, I don't really want to do that. Let's not just, we'll put save there. But we'll put this in, and I'm going to put under, let's see. We're going to make it disabled, so it's not enabled. All right. So in other words, we don't really have anything we have to do with that anymore. So what I'm saying is, in here where the show all people, we don't even need this anymore. We can comment this out, which is going to give us an error here, but we can comment all of this out as well. All right, one more time to run this. File, save all, run it. Giving me an error. Okay, let's see what the error is. We must be using reload in here. See, we don't need that anymore. And we don't need that anymore. So file, save all. That was just our reference to it. So let's see if it works now. All right, if we click read, there it is. Now it's bringing up our stuff right away. There's our 3 records. All right. Now let's see if we can actually remove one. So I notice that save now doesn't do anything. So I'll return to the startup. I'll go to delete. There's our 3 records. I'm going to go here and I'm going to say save. Are you sure you want to delete this person? Yes. Person deleted from database. And they're gone. All right. Now a couple more things here. Create. Save isn't bad. I guess we can keep that. That's okay. Read. Return to startup. That's okay. Update. Where it says save, I'm going to change the save is okay, but what I'm going to change on there is I'm going to change the text to update record right there. All right, and finally for this I'm going to change this to delete record. So let's exit. Let's go back, and for our delete, bring up our delete and bring up our update. All right, so this is update. We're just going to change the text. We'll leave the name as save. That's totally fine. But we're going to change the text here to update record. All right. And for our delete, we're going to change the text here to delete record. All right, so file, save all. Let's close everything but our startup. There it is. Let's run it. Now, let's create a new record, somebody we know is not in there. So, Sally Smith, she will live at 1234 East 3rd Street. We'll say that that's in Chicago, Illinois, 60606. I don't know. And save. Record added to database. Let's see if she's in there. You'll notice she's number 4. She's not 3 because we removed record number 3, Bob Jenkins. So he's gone. All right. Let's see if we can change me from Jeff to Jeffrey. All right. So I'm going to update. Click on here. I want to change that to Jeffrey. Oops. I'm going to click on here. It looks like you have to do this. And say update record. Person successfully updated to database. You can see that if I go back, it's now Jeffrey. Finally, again, if I go back and I want to delete Sally that we just put in here, it'll ask me, are you sure you want to delete this person? And I'll say yes. They're gone. It's redone this, and they're gone. The last thing I want to show you, and then we're going to stop this program because it's basically finished, is I'm going to go over here to my View SQL Server Object Explorer, and I'm going to go to my databases. I'm going to find my person database 02, and you will notice that once I do this and I go to tables and I double click on that table, all right, oh, that's not what I want, but we'll fix that right now. So that's everything that's in there. That's the database or the table we created. But let's come in here, and for the database, we're going to write a new query. So let's see, person database, new query. And I'm going to say, oops, select star from persons. I think that's the name of it. We'll run it, and lo and behold, there's our people. All right, now I'm looking here, and somehow this looks funky, but let's see. We've got person ID, first name, last name, address, city, state, zip code. I don't know what happened to that zip code, but we're going to look right now, and then we'll finish this. Okay, so I don't need to save this, so don't save. Let's run this one more time. Let's read. That zip code is somehow all screwed up. It says REY. I don't know what I did, but I probably did it. So let's update it. Let's go to the zip code, and we're going to change that to 34567. I'm going to click, and I'm going to tell it to update the record. It says it was updated. Let's go back and read, and it looks like it's been updated. Finally, let's go back to the actual database again. Double click, double check, and make sure that's been updated as well. Select star from persons. We'll run that query, and there it is. So there's our information. All right, I hope you got something out of this, because I want to go back now and basically start with EF in mind, Entity Framework, and go back and basically redo the, first I want to redo the BMI program with Entity Framework, and then I want to do the payroll one with Entity Framework. After I do that, the plan after that is to take these two applications and see if I can convert them to ASP.NET applications, whereby ideally I'll be able to put them out on the internet. All right, and give you a URL, and you can even play with them if you want to. Okay, that's the plan at least. Okay, talk to you later.